Randy Orton is the perfect corporate soldier. He doesn't ask for creative control, and he doesn't give retirement ultimatums. While Cody Rhodes was playing partner with the front office, the Viper was waiting to remind him why the Apex Predator always survives the corporate cull. Today, we look at the RKO that ended the American Nightmare's leverage in under 3 seconds. On February 28, 2026, the atmospheric pressure inside the Elimination Chamber didn't just drop, it imploded, leaving the physical and metaphorical remains of the American Nightmare scattered across the steel grates of a structural nightmare. Randy Orton, the Apex Predator, whose cold, calculating eyes have seen every rise and fall of the last 2 decades, stood tall over a broken Cody Rhodes. It wasn't supposed to end like this. The script of destiny, written in the blood of the Rhodes lineage and galvanized by 2 years of unrelenting momentum, dictated a clear path to WrestleMania 42. Yet, in a sequence of events that felt more like a corporate execution than a wrestling match, Drew McIntyre's illegal intrusion shattered the glass, Seth Rollins' haunting return paralyzed the arena, and the Viper struck with a lethal finality that felt like a door slamming shut on an entire era. Within seconds, the digital landscape was a war zone. Hashtag Cody Crybabies didn't just trend, it became a digital riot. A focal point for a global audience that felt they had just witnessed a broad daylight robbery of their hero's crowning moment. Conspiracy theories flooded every server, journalists scrambled for a leak that made sense of the madness, and the locker room fell into a deafening, uneasy silence. Why did the most protected, most profitable, and most beloved asset in TKO's portfolio just take a clean pin in the most important developmental beat of the road to WrestleMania? The official narrative offered by WWE broadcast teams is a convenient lie, a superficial explanation involving McIntyre's interference and Orton's opportunistic genius. But the official story is never the whole story in a $5 billion empire where every movement is scrutinized by shareholders and legal teams. Behind the curtain, a far more volatile reality was brewing, a story of expiring contracts, audacious creative control demands, and a backstage power struggle that threatens to dismantle the very foundation of the modern product. Just days before stepping into that cage, Cody Rhodes sat down for an interview that changed the stakes of his existence, declaring that his next contract would be his absolute last. At 40 years old, with 20 years of mileage on his frame, Rhodes wasn't just talking about a career extension. He was talking about an exit strategy. But in the shark-infested waters of TKO Group Holdings, a retirement announcement isn't viewed as a sentimental milestone. It is viewed as a loss of corporate leverage. The office begins to think about sending a message that resonates through the bank accounts of every talent on the roster. This is the autopsy of the Cody Rhodes screwjob. A clinical look at the contract negotiations no one is allowed to discuss, and the strategic humiliation of a man who thought he was bigger than the machine. To understand the violence of the chamber, we have to revisit the ESPN Unsportsmanlike podcast on February 25th. Rhodes didn't just give an interview. He dropped a logistical pipe bomb. By stating that his next deal would be his final act, he effectively put a ticking clock on the undisputed WWE Championship. For a company that relies on long-term branding and the perpetual motion of its top stars, Rhodes' admission was a declaration of independence that TKO was not prepared to process. He wasn't just the 2-time champion, or the man who finished the story at WrestleMania 40. He had become the face of the company's global expansion. Yet, here he was, publicly capping his value and setting an expiration date on his utility. In any other era, this might be a veteran's honesty, but in 2026, it was a tactical error. Rhodes entered the negotiation room with a resume that included headlining 3 consecutive WrestleManias and driving merchandise numbers that rivaled the peak of the Attitude Era. He wanted the Hulk Hogan treatment, guaranteed creative input, a reduced schedule similar to Roman Reigns, and a legacy clause that ensured his character would never be compromised in his final years. He wanted to be a partner, not just a performer. The corporate pushback was immediate and severe. TKO Group Holdings, under the clinical leadership of Endeavor's elite, does not grant creative autonomy to anyone who isn't holding the ultimate leverage of an active, long-term commitment. By announcing his retirement, Cody inadvertently signaled that he was already halfway out the door. The negotiations turned from a celebratory extension into a cold-blooded stalemate. Reports suggest that as the Elimination Chamber approached, the ink on the contract was still missing, and the creative team was instructed to prepare a contingency plan. That plan manifested as the RKO that echoed around the world. The message sent in the chamber was a corporate discipline disguised as a dramatic twist. It told Cody Rhodes, and every other aspiring legend in that locker room, that no matter how many suits you wear or how many buses have your face on the side, the booking is the final authority. You are an asset until the day you decide you are a person. And on that day, the asset is liquidated. The timing was too surgically precise to be a coincidence. The loss occurred exactly as the contract talks hit their most contentious peak. However, the fallout didn't stop at the pinfall. In the chaotic aftermath, the narrative took a sharp, jagged turn that suggests the screwjob may have backfired or triggered a secondary corporate civil war. Smackdown general manager Nick Aldis, usually the personification of British composure, underwent a visible psychological break. Backstage footage showed Aldis invading Drew McIntyre's space, his voice cracking with a genuine, unscripted fury that seemed to bypass the usual theatricality of wrestling. Aldis didn't just scold the champion, he attacked his professional integrity, accusing him of sabotaging the prestige of the Elimination Chamber out of a cowardly fear of Cody Rhodes. In a move that sent shockwaves through the legal department, Aldis bypassed a specific no-title shot clause that McIntyre had meticulously negotiated into his own champion's contract, a clause that was supposed to bar Rhodes from any championship opportunity unless he won a second Farning major tournament. By unilaterally scheduling an undisputed title match for the March 6th episode of Smackdown in Portland, setting the stage for a showdown that the office never actually wanted. The implications of this Smackdown match are staggering. We are moving toward a collision in Portland where the stakes aren't just a belt, but the validation of Cody's entire career trajectory. If Rhodes wins, he secures his third world title, but he does so on a Friday night television show rather than the neon-lit stage of WrestleMania. It is a compromise, a way for the company to give the fans their hero while simultaneously robbing that hero of the WrestleMania moment he was using as a bargaining chip in his contract talks. It is a brilliant, if cruel, piece of corporate maneuvering. Give him the title to satisfy the audience, but deny him the historic prestige to keep his ego in check. The smart money is currently divided. Half believe Rhodes will reclaim his throne to pacify the number Cody crybabies, while the other half suspects another interference, another layer of the screw job designed to push Rhodes into a mid-card grudge match against a returning Seth Rollins. Rollins' presence is the ultimate wild card here. His return at the chamber wasn't just a cameo. It was a ghost from Cody's past, reminding him that the road to the top is paved with people waiting for him to trip. While the world watches Smackdown, the silent war continues in the lawyers' offices. Rhodes' current deal is reportedly set to expire in the coming months, and every televised loss or stolen victory is being used as a data point to lower his market value. The office is playing a dangerous game of chicken with their biggest draw. If they push too hard and humble him too effectively, they risk him walking away entirely, leaving a Cody-sized hole in the Netflix transition. But if they give in to his demands for creative control, Rhodes is a master of the long game, a man who built an entire rival promotion out of spite and ambition, and he isn't likely to take this professional slight lying down. He moves merchandise, he moves ratings, and he moves the emotional needle of the fan base. If he decides that the American Nightmare is better suited for a different stage, the corporate fallout would be catastrophic. Yet, TKO remains steadfast in the belief that the brand is the draw, not the man. The WrestleMania 42 question now hangs over the industry like a guillotine. If Rhodes is the champion heading into the show of shows, he likely faces Randy Orton in a mentor versus protege narrative that has been 15 years in the making. It is a story of the legacy stable coming full circle, a poetic ending to Cody's full-time career. But if the office continues the screw job, if McIntyre retains on SmackDown through more nefarious means, Cody is left wandering in a creative wilderness. He could be forced into a triple threat, or worse, he could be relegated to a non-title grudge match that feels like a massive step backward. The tragedy of the Cody Rhodes screwjob is that it reveals the cold machinery behind the magic. It proves that even when you finish the story, the publishers can always demand a rewrite if they don't like your price. It highlights the friction between the art of professional wrestling, where athletes are merely content providers on a spreadsheet. Ultimately, the truth of what happened in that Elimination Chamber is a blend of reality and theater so seamless that even the performers might be losing track of where the work ends and the shoot begins. Randy Orton won because he is the reliable legend who doesn't ask for creative control, the office's dirty work. And Cody Rhodes lost because he dared to remind the world that he is a man with a finite amount of time left to give. On March 6th, in Portland, the detour either leads back to the main road or into a dead end. If the American Nightmare survives the Smackdown Gauntlet, the screwjob becomes a footnote in a greater legend. If he falls again, it becomes the blueprint for how TKO handles its legends, with a handshake in one hand and a knife in the other. The game is far from over. It is merely entering the most dangerous phase of the negotiations. The Cody Rhodes screwjob power, and the entire wrestling world is holding its breath to see who blinks first. This power struggle reflects a deeper tectonic shift in the industry as we approach the midpoint of the 2020s. The transition to Netflix. TKO wants a product that is predictable, sustainable, and entirely under their control. Cody Rhodes, with his independent spirit and history of disrupting the status quo, represents a variable that the new corporate regime is desperate to solve. The Elimination Chamber finish was more than just a booking decision. It was a stress test. They wanted to see if the fans would turn on the product or if they would simply transfer their frustration onto the heel, McIntyre. By booking the Smackdown title match immediately afterward, they are attempting to have it both ways, showing the fans they listen while maintaining the pressure on Cody's contract talks. It is a masterclass in psychological management, keeping the performer off balance so that he is more likely to sign a less than ideal deal just to secure his place at the top of the mountain. The return of Seth Rollins at the Chamber adds a layer of creative complexity that might actually serve the office's goals better than anyone expected. Rollins, a man who has always been seen as a company soldier despite his flamboyant persona, offers a ready-made alternative to the Cody Rhodes narrative. If the negotiations with Rhodes truly sour, the company can pivot to Rollins as the standard bearer for the Netflix era. Rollins' history with Rhodes is deep and visceral, providing the perfect vehicle to humble Cody on his way out. This is the chess game being played in the dark, away from the pyrotechnics and the roar of the crowd. Every move is calculated. Every interference is weighted, and every pinfall is a negotiation tactic. The American Nightmare is currently trapped in the end. Whether Cody can break that cycle remains the greatest cliffhanger in the history of the sport. The stage is set, the players are in position, and the world is watching to see if the American Nightmare can turn a screwjob into a masterpiece. Beyond the immediate title implications, the events of February 28th signal a massive shift in how WrestleMania cards are constructed in the TKO era. Gone are the days of year-long builds that remain static. The current regime thrives on dynamic booking, where the card is a living document that can be shredded and rewritten based on real-time data and contractual leverage. Randy Orton's victory was a testament to the Legacy Guard performers who are viewed as safe, reliable hands who will not rock the boat during a major media transition. Orton doesn't demand creative control. He executes the vision provided to him with a clinical perfection that TKO finds comforting. By placing him in the WrestleMania main event, the office has secured a floor for the show's quality and narrative consistency. This puts Rhodes in a precarious position. He is no longer the only option for a main event, and that reality is being used to grind him down at the bargaining table. The Viper is the ultimate insurance policy, and his presence in the title picture is a constant reminder to Cody that no one is truly indispensable. The role of Drew McIntyre in this corporate drama, disruptor, a man who views himself as the savior of the company from those he deems part-timers or privileged outsiders. In reality, McIntyre has become the office's most effective weapon for humbling talent. By allowing him to interfere and sabotage Cody's momentum, the company is using McIntyre to do the heavy lifting of depreciating Rhodes' value without getting their own hands dirty. McIntyre's paranoia is the perfect kayfabe cover for what is essentially a corporate hit job. He isn't just a heel, he is a strategic asset being used to ensure that Cody Rhodes enters WrestleMania season as a vulnerable star rather than an unbeatable icon. This vulnerability is key to the office's strategy. They want a Cody who feels lucky to be there, not a Cody who knows he is the reason everyone else is there. It is a subtle but vicious form of professional gaslighting. Meanwhile, the return of Seth Rollins has created a secondary front in this war of attrition. Rollins' shoulder injury in October was a legitimate crisis for the company, but his return at the Chamber was timed with a precision that suggests he has been ready for weeks. Holding him back until the moment Cody was at his lowest point was a deliberate creative choice. Rollins is the architect, a man who has always prided himself on seeing the bigger picture. His stare down with Rhodes after the match was a warning. The mountain is crowded, and there is no room for someone who doesn't have the office's full backing. If Rhodes fails to capture the title on Smackdown, Rollins is the natural pivot point, a man who can step into the main event scene and provide the work rate and star power the Netflix deal demands. The office is effectively building a post-Cody world in plain sight, demonstrating to the American nightmare that the show will go on with or without him. This is the ultimate form of leverage, showing the talent that they are replaceable. The Smackdown match in Portland is being billed as a once-in-a-lifetime television event, but it is actually a high-stakes focus group. TKO will be monitoring every metric from social media engagement to the minute-by-minute ratings to determine exactly how much the audience still cares about Cody's quest. If the numbers are astronomical, they may be forced to give in to his contract demands to keep the momentum going through WrestleMania. But if the numbers are merely good, it gives the office the ammunition they need to hold the line on creative control and pay. Every person who tunes into SmackDown is inadvertently participating in a referendum on Cody's career. The American Nightmare is literally wrestling for his life as a top-tier superstar, and the opponent isn't just McIntyre, it's the collective apathy or passion of the WWE Universe. This is the reality of the digital age. Your career is a live tracking graph, and on March 6th, Cody Rhodes needs that graph to hit a vertical spike. The contract negotiations themselves are a labyrinth of legalities and egos. Rhodes is represented by high-powered agents who understand his value in the wider entertainment market. But TKO is a conglomerate that doesn't scare easily. The demand for creative control is the ultimate sticking point. In the history of the business, only a handful of names, Hogan, Austin, Rock, have truly held that power, and the modern office views those precedents as mistakes that led to backstage chaos. They want a unified vision, and they see Rhodes' desire for input as a threat to that unity. Cody, on the other hand, remembers the Stardust years and the frustration of being a cog in a machine that didn't understand his value. He is fighting for his legacy, for the right to ensure that the Cody Rhodes brand isn't diluted or destroyed as he enters his final years. It is a clash of philosophies that may not have a middle ground, and the Elimination Chamber was the first real shot fired in that war. As we move closer to WrestleMania 42, the Cody Rhodes screwjob will likely go down as one of the most controversial and analyzed periods in wrestling history. It exposes the tension that exists at the heart of every great story, the conflict between the individual and the institution. Cody Rhodes wants to be a hero, TKO wants him to be a product. The fans want a moment, the office wants a margin. In Portland, these two worlds will collide in a way that will define the next 5 years of the industry. If the American Nightmare can overcome the screw job, he will have proven that some stories are too powerful for even the biggest corporations to stop. But if he falls, he will be a cautionary tale for every wrestler who thinks they can beat the house. The house always wins unless you are willing to burn it down. And as we know from Cody's history, he is one of the few at the end of the story. It's the match that starts the fire. The fallout of this conflict will resonate through the locker room for years. Young stars like Javon Evans and Trick Williams, who share the chamber with Rhodes and Orton, are watching this drama play out. Top-tier star tries to assert their power. It is a lesson in corporate politics that no amount of training at the Performance Center can provide. For them, the Cody Rhodes screwjob is a blueprint for their own futures, a warning to keep their heads down, their mouths shut, and their contracts simple. The Office is effectively domesticating its roster, using the humiliation of its biggest star to ensure that the next generation remains compliant. This is the hidden cost in favor of the manageable asset. Cody Rhodes is the last of the outlaws, and the Office is determined to bring him to justice. On March 6th, the eyes of the wrestling world will be on Portland, Oregon. It is a city known for its rebellious spirit, the perfect setting for a man fighting for his career against the machine. The match against Drew McIntyre is more than just a title bout. It is a battle for the soul of the business. If Rhodes wins, the fans will celebrate a victory over the Office, a triumph of the people's champion, but the Office will still be there, waiting for the next opportunity to balance the scales. The screwjob is a process, not an event, and even a title win may only be a temporary reprieve for the American Nightmare. The negotiations will continue, the pressure will remain, and the game will go on. Cody Rhodes is wrestling for his future, but the machine is playing for eternity. In the end, the truth of the Cody Rhodes screwjob is that in the world of professional wrestling, the story never truly ends. It just gets more expensive. The psychological toll on Rhodes during this period is something that the cameras can't fully capture. He's a man who has always been hyper-aware of his public perception. A man who meticulously crafts his image to be the standard bearer for the business. To be treated as a problem or a liability by the very company he helped return to glory must be a bitter pill to swallow. His social media activity has been uncharacteristically quiet since the chamber, a silence that speaks volumes about his mindset. He isn't just angry, he is calculating. He knows that his next move will define his legacy. He is currently a man between worlds, no longer just a wrestler, but not yet a corporate executive, caught in the middle of a war for his own identity. This is the human element that the algorithm can't account for. The resilience of a man who has spent his entire life being told he wasn't enough, only to prove the world wrong every single time. As the road to WrestleMania 42 continues, the Cody Rhodes screwjob will remain the focal point of every discussion. It is the prism through which we will view every booking decision, every promo, and every match. It has successfully created a level of genuine heat that the company hasn't seen in years, blurring the lines of reality in a way that only professional wrestling can. Whether it was a planned masterstroke or a desperate reaction to a contract stalemate, the result is the same. The world is talking about Cody Rhodes. And in the world of TKO, that is the most valuable currency there is. The American Nightmare may be in the middle of a screwjob, but he is also in the middle of the greatest story of his career. And as he has shown us before, he is a master at finding the light even in the darkest room. The final chapter hasn't been written yet, and the pen is still in his hand, even if the Office is trying to take it away. In Portland, the bell will ring and the lights will shine, but the real match will take place in the silence between the moves. It will be in the way Cody looks at the camera, the way he interacts with the crowd, and the way he carries himself after the final bell. He is a man with everything. The Cody Rhodes screwjob may have been designed to humble him, but it may have also been the very thing he needed to become truly immortal. Because in professional wrestling, the greatest heroes are always the ones who survived the machine. On March 6th, we will find out if Cody Rhodes is a survivor or a statistic. And the world will be watching, waiting for the next twist.
Shadows claiming light, the clash of wills, a destined fight. Blaze a trail, ignite the night. This is the moment, power unleashed, all doubts are gone, fears decreased. Hear the echo, a mighty roar, ready for battle, wanting more. Feel the surge, the winning drive. beyond the fear, beyond the pain. An anthem played for all to see, this legend forged for victory. The ultimate test, the final